So here we are then with some more F1 2021 and another part of my Immersive Career Mode with Ferrari. Today we have my favourite Grand Prix of the season in Canada. But we have had such an unlucky season so far. Make sure you go and check out the videos in the playlist on the channel homepage. But it has been ridiculous, really, what has happened, especially in the last Grand Prix in Azerbaijan. 2 laps to go, we win second place, looking on course for our first podium of the career, but an engine failure, our second of the season already, meant that we had to retire. But because it was so late on in the Grand Prix, we were still classified in 18th, which makes it look worse than what it really was. But we would have finished second there. We were hunting down Lewis Hamilton. We wouldn't have caught him, but you know, it shows that the sort of pace that we had. We had an engine failure in Spain, of course, and a very unlucky Grand Prix in China where we had an incident on track that set us right to the back of the field. We set the fastest lap and then took a tactical retirement to try and save some components. But if we have a little look at the engine, this is what we're faced with currently. You know, we're going to have to take a new engine, basically, at some point. And depending on how we do in qualifying, potentially that's what we look at doing today. You know, Canada, there's plenty of places that we could overtake. So it's just something we may look at. But looking at the power of the car, I think we might have to do that anyway, if I'm honest, because those parts over 50% now puts them at big risk. But without further ado, let's see how we get on in qualifying, and hopefully we can do a good job. Well, here we come up to the line then. What's it going to be? It's a 109.2, which is enough for 4th place at the moment. Quicker than Esteban Ocon, but yeah, you feel like there is probably a few more tenths in that. That was a very conservative first run, but
there's only 1 lap of fuel remaining.
It should be enough to get through to Q2. I feel like that will be quicker than both Williams, both Haas's, and probably both Alfa Romeos as well. So, you know, we're just behind Perez at the moment, so I think that should be enough to get through to Q2. Well, there we go. We are through to Q2. And we set 4 laps very, very similar to each other on the same set of tyres, so I'm hoping that when we go into Q2 with the fresh rubber, we'll be able to get much more into those 108s and hopefully get through to Q3 once again. Well, here we come up to the line. What's it going to be? It's a 108.8, which, if we were in Q1, probably would have been enough to get through. Just a little bit slower than our teammate Charles Leclerc, but we're ahead of Tsunoda. That's a good sign. Here we go then, up to the line at the end of Q2, and there's a 0.5 of a second made up, and we're up to P4 in Q2. So finally we find a hooks up lap in there. We find a bit of time and we're comfortably through to Q3 ahead of our teammate once again. But look how close it is. The top 10 within half a second. Going out in Q2 then, Raikkonen, Gasly, Stroll, Tsunoda and Esteban Ocon. Well, here we come up to the line. It's a 108.2, which is enough for P7 on the grid. We can be happy with that. Lost a little bit of time through the final chicane, but generally very, very happy with that. A little bit behind our teammate, but wow, look at that.
Top three, Hamilton, Bottas and Max Verstappen. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
So once again, we qualify in the top 10, well inside the points. Looking very, very good. You know, if we'd had a clean exit from the final chicane, maybe we could have qualified P4. It's looking like it's going to be wet tomorrow, so let's find out with David Croft and Anthony Davidson how this year's Canadian Grand Prix will go.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to a variant of this track back in 1978. It was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. It's a tricky circuit to tackle in wet conditions, with top speed still of critical importance down the long back straight. There are 2.7 miles and 14 corners overall on a circuit that in the dry can see average lap speeds of around 130 miles per hour. We'll be lucky to get anywhere near that today. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Let me ask you about Aston Martin. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc and Fernando Alonso. The captain, Norris, Perez and Sebastian Vettel. Raikkonen, Gasly, Lance Stroll and Tsunoda. Ocon, Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher and George Russell. Latifi and Nikita Mazepin. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Okay, so here we are down on track then. It is looking like torrential rain. Apparently we are going to be on the intermediate tyres. I do want to have a little look and see if the wet tyres will be any better. I mean, potentially not, but I do wonder whether starting on the wet would be preferable. I mean, let's have a little look on the race director. Is anybody going for wet tyres? No. So maybe we just stick with the rest of the field, but yeah, it's going to be a tough old 35 laps around Canada, so let's get into it and hope that we're able to have a good positive race
Right, let's get
in
the
these
car up to
conditions.
temperature
We
on
have
this lap.
traditionally
Learning gears,
had
so
very,
go
very
through more
good
if you can.
form in wet weather, but of course Canada, different kettle of fish. I can imagine we'll probably have a reasonably poor start and hopefully manage to get back onto it. Deary me, I hope we don't do that in the actual race. Luckily no damage on the formation lap, but yeah, let's get used to these conditions and then I'll see you guys at lights out. Oh my word. Here we go then. Lights out, away we go here in Canada. Decent start off the grid for once. We very, very slowly applied the power. As we come around the first corner, a little bit of contact between the guys in front. And apparently we get warned for a collision with Norris. Didn't really see that. But look at the spray as we come round through the first sector. Get warned for exceeding track limits. I think that was very, very harsh considering we were just trying to avoid Lando Norris. But yeah, this is a very, very slow start to the race. But hopefully we will get ourselves back into position and maybe find some overtakes today. Use this opportunity of the different conditions, but already we've been warned twice for the track limits. That's not going to be good. Wow, just managed to stop it in time to get through to Fernando Alonso, but we hold our position. We can be happy with that. Well, you join me on lap 8 of this Grand Prix. Not a lot has happened. There was a brief virtual safety car period because Esteban Ocon retired with an engine failure. We have managed to get a decent gap behind to Vettel. And we're sort of staying with Fernando Alonso. He managed to pull out a decent gap during the virtual safety car because we were having to dip below the delta all the time. But we're doing alright out there. We're getting more and more confident with the conditions. One of my big worries, though, is those tyre wears. If you look at those, they're all over 20%, which at this stage of the Grand Prix is not great. And we still have another little while before we come into the pits to change them. There was a brief time where wets may have looked quicker than Inters. I think overall, Inters are the best tyres to be on at the moment. We're just staying used to the conditions, and hopefully we can catch Fernando Alonso and maybe think about a pass.
It looks critical.
Oh
Find
no!
somewhere to retire as soon as possible. We can't risk
You've
carrying on with this
got
race.
to be kidding me. And another energy store is gone. Well, I'm just absolutely appalled. Absolutely appalled. Another mechanical failure. And we're having to pull over to the side here. I mean, somebody's going to go into us, aren't they? Surely. We're just so slow at the back here. Well, we managed to just about make it. Oh, I am so annoyed by this. That is the third engine failure of the season. The second in the energy store. We are out of the Canadian Grand Prix. Once again, we were on course for some good points there, and we are out.
They take the checkered flag then here in Canada in what has been another fabulous Grand Prix. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Rain always has the potential to liven up a race and mix up the order, and they've taken full advantage of that to claim the victory today. It's always a bit of a lottery when the conditions are like this, but they've managed to stay on circuit and have come out on top.
I'm absolutely gutted. Absolutely gutted.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
So Hamilton wins again. Another win for him this season, and he's sailing towards his 9th world title. But I'm just beyond words now.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Anthony Davidson, who do you pick?
Sebastian Vettel would definitely be my first choice. He showed up a lot of the drivers out on the track today and didn't show any signs of slowing down.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
So another retirement for us, another engine failure. And our time at Ferrari is going from bad to worse. And yeah, I just don't know what to do, really. I know we're a bit eager on the ERS usually, but I don't think it should be leading to this many problems.
Let's talk about what happened. Could you comment on the technical problems you had during the race? You had a bit of a rivalry going on, but it looks like they bested you.
I mean, you know, there's not a lot we could say, is there? Really, you know, that would be positive in that situation. But again, we're out, and he's going to win the rivalry. We lose a bit of acclaim, which is a shame. And now we head towards France, where, of course, last year we had an engine failure while in the points. And, well, let's have a little look at this. I mean, once again, we have no resource points from it. And, I mean, let's have a little look at these points. There you go, energy store. I mean, I swear it was an energy store earlier in the season that went. Maybe not. Oh, it was the MG UK. Well, there you go then. But 3 engine failures. That is ridiculous. Really, I don't know what really we could have done better. I suppose we have to put our new components in. Go for that energy store. We're already on that component because look at those two. And that looks fine. So that's what we have to do. I'm afraid we can take a new gearbox as well. So, you know, hopefully we'll be all right for the French Grand Prix. But look at that season so far. 4 DNFs in 5 races, of course. And 3 engine failures in 4 races. That's just... It's heartbreaking because we would have at least finished 7th in that Grand Prix. We were catching Fernando Alonso. We would have finished 2nd in the previous Grand Prix. I'm fairly sure we were running in the points in Spain as well. So, you know, we've been in a very good position and could have had a lot of points. But instead, we're down in 14th in the drivers' standings. And our drive at Ferrari will be under pressure because of that, because of the way this game works. It won't take into account all of those engine failures that were no real fault of our own. But, you know, add on 18 points, add on another 12, and you're looking at being on 37 points-ish, which, you know, would have put us 9th in the championship, which it looks a hell of a lot better than what this does currently. And, well, it's just devastating, really. There's nothing we can do about it. The team have got the major update coming. Hopefully that will be in place by the British Grand Prix or the Austrian Grand Prix, whichever one it falls under. But, yeah, gutted. But if you've enjoyed it, nonetheless, give it a big thumbs up down below. Subscribe for more F1 content. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Thanks for watching and goodbye.